What's going on, y'all? It's another episode of Mindin Ya Biz. We live in the studio again today. I'm Dr. Black Wealth, and we got...
Hey, guys. It's your girl, Miss Fat Financial, checking in on this live. I'm actually live on TikTok now. This is the first time.
We live.
We live on YouTube and TikTok. This is a new thing. I usually don't do it, but we are here, and we are seeing how this goes, right?
So listen, y'all, on Mindin Ya Biz. Listen, we do all things Mindin Ya Biz. We are your guide to growing smarter, connecting with business principles with political know-how, right? So we're dropping politic knowledge, business knowledge, all for you to take gems to be able to affect your business, right? And so on today's episode, we're going to be breaking down an interview Mark Cuban did, right? I thought it was really, really good for our listeners to kind of hear a business and a quick, like, political, almost like a civics class.
Absolutely.
Mixed with business class.
It gives you a really good understanding from a business mind, non-political, right? What is the pros and cons of tariffs, right? We hear that word, it goes out. They took civics out of class purposely so people could kind of throw stuff at you and you have no idea what's happening. So, you know, he's a true businessman, right? You know, no shade, no tea, but I don't know what Donald Trump is doing these days besides getting y'all to like, share, and subscribe to pay him money for his legal fees. But anyway, so he is a true businessman.
Hold on. Let's not just be just jumping on my man Trump now. But the thing with Cuban, though, is Cuban has been seen as like a hater of Trump in the sense the way the media is portraying him, because he's been on CNBC, he's been on everywhere, dissing Trump.
Right-leaning media portrays him, right? Anybody that is not super on the right, they'll do that, right? It's McCarthyism to its finest.
For sure.
The witch trailer, how was that? The trailer, what's some people called? The witch. What is the witch thing back in
the Salem witch trial?
Right, that kind of thing. We're gonna swear conspiracy.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
but that's not the truth.
Well, shout out to my guys at Flagrant 2 podcast, where we're gonna be doing we're gonna be seeing the video or the interview.
Is that a sponsor? Did we get a sponsor?
Nah, but you know, they're our podcast friends. What's up, y'all? Love to have y'all on the show. We'll be on y'all's.
That's right.
See y'all in New York. But let's get started, y'all. Let's get right into it. So we're gonna do some little, get educated and kind of get going.
Give you our feedback, our reaction to it. What are tariffs?
You said if there was a non-MAGA Republican in 2020, you would have voted for them.
Yeah.
Who do you see on that side that you're like, I would like for them to be president?
I like Nikki Haley. I voted for her in the primary. I like Chris Christie because he talks shit and doesn't give a shit. I wasn't into DeSantis, and I know Vivek now, but
I think he's great.
Yeah, I think he's just a Trump with a better vocabulary.
He's got a great vocabulary.
He's got a great vocabulary. He's really
hates
smart.
Bureaucracy. He's very smart.
Yeah,
and what I appreciate about Vivek is that he knows what he's suggesting is radical, and he's like, that this is a government of the people and we deserve the situation we put ourselves in.
So like I did a podcast with him.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
Went back and forth. And when he suggests it, it's one thing to suggest it, but it's not problem solving. You can say, I'm going to cut out the Department of Education.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. Well, we didn't have a Department of Education in 1817.
Yeah.
And though, it wasn't meant to be this big.
Yeah.
But we are where we are.
Yeah.
And if you're going to fix something, if you want it better, you have to be able to go from where you are to where you want to get to. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to change education, where you are, okay, let's talk about how you're going to get there. You want to cut the size of government? Great, I want to cut the size of government and make it more efficient. Let's talk about AI as a service. How can we use AI to speed up different functions that the government does now, so it's not just a bunch of people sitting at desks? There's a million ways to do it, and that's the shit I can talk to the Harris campaign about. When I talk to, Vivek or whoever, Republicans, they're not talking about that shit.
So can you explain to just a regular person like myself, when people talk about how bloated government is, how does that happen? And then what would you do to, contract it?
So it's a great question. So it happens a couple different ways. Congress passes different programs, and they put together these programs, and then they assign money to it, and then they get implemented.
Well-intentioned programs?
Yeah, well-intentioned.
Or are they being lobbied to...
All the above.
Okay.
So maybe not all, some might be a bridge to nowhere type thing.
Got it.
But for the most part, they were well-intentioned. They had a program in mind. They had somebody, a constituency they were trying to help. And then they implement them. And then that's one program. And then there's another program over here.
Oh, and then
there's another program over there.
They're defined by how many of these things they pass.
It's not even that. It's just they all had good intentions, but over 40 years,
they don't go away.
They don't go away. There's 40 different programs. And so then you have to have people who manage the people, then interconnect them, that deal with the output of them.
This is
and so rather than you can't just say cut them all, because
and the more programs you have, the more people it takes to make sure that they're interconnected.
They all work together and track all the money and do all the stuff and get the money there, get the money out, pay for it, talk about it, do the budget for it. But you can't just say, you're gone, because there are contracts and shit. And there's companies that literally are run by hardworking American entrepreneurs that have contracts with those organizations, those projects.
The government is all contracting.
Right. But, what was crazy was, I think I was having this conversation with my brother the other day. And so the thing that I liked about how he broke this down, because it also speaks to all the programs that America has, that I feel like it speaks to the Thomas Sowell narrative of the government picks a problem to solve,
and it's usually coming from the people.
Well,
typically
from how he described it, Thomas Sowell say they'll pick a problem to solve, and the way he describes it is almost as if the government picked the problem. Nobody was concerned about whatever until the government said this is a problem we're gonna solve, right? And so will you just...
Well, I fundamentally would disagree with that, but okay.
But I'm just explaining how he broke it down. Okay. So then he was like, well, we'll put this program in place, and you're trying to help, right? But then over time it becomes detrimental. But then it also adds to what Cuban is saying, because once the program is so big, you got all these business owners with contracts, you got all these people that you employ. And it made me think, sometimes do the programs get so big that it's you just can't pull out of it? And this programs I was specifically thinking about was, there's an era where, let's call it starting from Johnson. He did the war on poverty, which through Johnson is how civil rights and Martin Luther King, all of them got all the Civil Rights Act, the Housing Act, all that stuff was brought on through Johnson. But then it was a series from Johnson on the war on poverty. Then we roll into I think the next biggest thing will be the war on drugs.
Yeah.
And then you roll out of the war on drugs to let's call it Clinton passing the crime bill. And so when you look at it statistically, right, without having all the numbers the way Sowell break it down, I think we talked about this before. It was when you pick a problem like teen pregnancy or whatever, he was well, before we cause attention to having sex programs and all that stuff in the schools, relative teen pregnancy, all that stuff was relatively low. Afterwards, is in the school, it has increased.
Lord, okay.
And so, but I also think about that when you think about war on, so specific to Black people, and I think this is where my approach from the just the different parties. I look at us as at this point, 2024, Black people are more of a gold mine than not. I'm looking at it last night I'm attending an NAACP meeting, and I'm just trying to, because I talked to my stuff about it. I'm what, you ain't really heard of the NAACP since Thurgood Marshall,
sure.
Right? So what are y'all doing today? Yeah. But we are so indoctrinated by, and Cuban talks about this. I don't think we're gonna have the clip on it, but he talks about this too in the clip, where it's most people are voting Democrat because they are Democrat. Most people are voting Republican just to say I'm not a Democrat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got some Republicans who are man, I don't really like Trump, but I'm a Republican through and through, so I'm gonna vote for him. And I really feel we have the ability, Black people specifically, have the ability to where we could sway any decision left or right the way we might want to, right? And so hear me out. We push for Democrats to say, hey, Republicans are racist, right? That's kind of like the biggest narrative that Democrats play is the race game for Republicans because it's like publicly shown. In my opinion, I'm like, it's on both sides.
Okay.
Democrats might not be saying, you might not see, but they'll throw something out, hide their hand. You're dealing with it on either fence of it. So why not look at who or what will benefit you as a whole, as a people in the long run, and not just go along to get along.
Okay. I mean, I felt like this that's a conversation, but it's kind of circular because
for sure
we've had that conversation before why people don't vote in their own best interest, right? Because some of it is because of the racism and the unconscious bias they have for others. Because let's just go right into the Republican Party, right? Though that is majority white, heavily leaning white people, and they vote against their own best interests. They vote against their people who are Republican, who are hand over fist.
This is about a money play.
Exporting their jobs overseas.
For sure.
Who is removing health care.
For sure.
Dissecting their, not dissecting, but breaking down their education system. But yet, because race is such a thing in our history, that's the one thing that they can weaponize and give them a glimpse of power to say, look, but you're still better than them. Because those people economically and strategically doesn't make any sense. Current today.
But that's what I'm saying. You got that on both
Republican
sides.
People, however, the list of Republican people who have voted against natural disaster and FEMA relief is astounding. Those people who are heavily...
That's happening now with Hurricane...
right now. Now the budget...
What was it? Helene.
Right, but Milton is right here, knocking at the door.
The one that's coming today, right?
And they did an emergency meeting to increase FEMA disaster relief. And your Republican constituents in your states that have the most natural disasters voted against it.
Shout out to CJ Williams. Excellent interview with Mark, for sure. But my point is, so for me, I'm not looking at it to like, I'm looking at it very...
And you're looking at in the Black community, right? For us.
Right, and I'm looking at it very neutral.
I wouldn't typically vote for anybody who is not promoting middle-class values and helping promote and push the middle class. So that is the reason why I try to be as Grant.
I see. Middle class is like a concern for you specifically.
Middle class is a concern for me. I'm also a business owner, but as the middle class grows, that means there's more discretionary income for me as a business owner, right? Right. The more money is in the economy, it helps business owners, right?
That's true, but I don't know about the middle class specifically.
Maybe not them, but typically,
maybe it depends on your business model.
For sure. I mean, if you're it depends.
Because Walmart makes billions, and this is they're not marketing to the middle class.
No, it's lower. It's lower class. It's a lower class situation for sure. But that's Walmart,
right?
But if you go like a Target or a Nordstrom,
for sure,
they're middle class and upper,
for
right?
Sure,
it's a segment for each person,
for sure.
But typically, the middle class is where most of the people are, and middle class, depending on.
You feel like the Democrats got the better fight to grow the middle class.
Absolutely, depending on your budget. You would either shop low because you would be like, ooh, my check, I'm gonna go to Walmart, or I could go to Target.
So if the Republicans do something that allows you to, for instance, we in business, if they change the market that allows us to grow our business in a way to where we're in a growth stage, let's call it growth stage, before we start scaling. And so you
have to grow within reason without exploiting the people that are working for you.
For sure. That's not where I'm going.
Heavy, that is the regulation that the Democratic Party imposes on businesses help growth and put parameters and responsibilities, right? Because we know the Republican Party is anti-union, anti-collective bargaining. Well, if you don't have that, you have an exploitation of workers. I'm a you know what I mean? Okay, yeah. Well, what you gonna do here?
Yeah.
Right. So what that means, you're really not for the people.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Let's keep going. That's interesting.
Checks. And so when you're just saying, okay, I'm just cutting the entire Department of Education.
Yeah,
But if you say, okay, we're going to walk in and we're going to use technology and we're going to say this program here, we're going to make you more efficient. So when someone retires or dies, or you don't have to replace
that position.
But if the goal is to help kids, it's a school lunch program, and it's to help kids. We don't want the kids to get less because this whole thing gets cut, because what Vivek would say is we're just going to cut it and send the money to the states. But then the states do the same shit.
They also have their program.
Yeah, they do the exact same thing.
And they're going to have the same bloating.
The same problem, but it's on them. What I say is, okay, the goal is to get the kids fed. If we can find a better way to, sunset this program, but make sure those kids are in a better position, because it may even be better just to write them all checks. Or give the parents check and make it cheaper. You don't know, but the goal is find a solution, fix a problem.
Here, it seems like what you're describing could be like a 10 or 20 year turnaround for a lot of these programs. How do you make sure that 5 administrations potentially continue it?
That's the problem. That's part of the issue. The Democrats have their programs, the Republicans have their programs, and that's where you hope, like, an independent who's not part of that. Like, if it were up to me, I would love both parties to just get the fuck out. What the fuck do we need them for?
Yeah.
They're there to raise money and to create problems. And now Trump, there is no real Republican Party. That's like the family business. Trump runs it. And Kamala is doing the same thing on the Democratic side. It's not like you hear anything from Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren anymore. They're out in the shitter, you know? And Kamala learned from Trump. Literally, she learned from Trump. She's like, Donald took over this program. I'm going to do the same thing with the Democrats. And this is what I care about. This is what I'm going to do. Doesn't matter what Bernie or Elizabeth or those guys want to do. So you're not seeing her.
There's not dissenting voices even within the party.
No, it's just like you don't on Trump, right? You don't.
Everybody falls in line on both sides.
Because that's what it takes now. It's more about the personality and who's going out there getting votes than it is about the programs.
Yeah, that popularity contest. We fall in love with these like demigods. And we're voting for their, we're not voting for the substance of their platform or anything. We're just voting for a last name.
You talk to Donald Trump. What substance have you ever heard from him?
He's fun. He's fun.
Yes.
That's what everybody.
Yes.
He's fun.
But tell me, like, what is one thing? Give me.
But Clinton was fun too. He played saxophone.
He played saxophone. Like that's cool.
Like, we
like know how to use his office.
Abraham Lincoln was fun.
He knew how to make room under his desk. No one did it better.
What's up to Gallifin?
Have you met Bill? Great guy, right?
Great guy.
You get why they were sucking on him.
Yo, my God. I watched a basketball game. I watched an NBA Finals game. Me, my buddy, and Bill Clinton and some of his friends. And the dude, like a Mavs game, I'll yell at the TV. Other games, I don't care. I'll just watch and enjoy. He was smoking a cigar.
Just serving the president.
My boy Clinton, he got him in. It's like scandal. Got him in and out of.
Nasty.
They like, sir, I can see you in the camera.
Like, you're under this desk.
Oh my God. But the line about, let's get rid of the parties. And I think
would
that
love to do that. However,
I'm telling you, that's where we don't, even if that's not possible, but our thinking can go that way with collective power that we have. And I think we are sleeping on it.
You know what we could do?
Black people need to wake up.
What we could do realistically is expand, almost kind of do like what Europe does. They have 3 parties, right? And it's similar to the House of Congress, and they each represent their constituents. So you have to have, 2 of the groups agree to something. But I think you could do it if you kind of redo and change the Constitution, but that would mean no more infighting, right? Because again, you weaponize the otherism, so that means that us can't come together and think we want an additional third party. So if we keep voting on little stuff about immigrants and transgender, and they're trying to like condition our children to be gay, that type of crazy stuff, then we keep focusing on that while they keep taking the power, money, and resources from us. As they keep saying, they're teaching our children
but that's all
how to be gay.
On.
Like that's happening in
that's the push of media.
Middle school.
That's the push of media.
Right.
But I mean, so most people
indoctrinate people. So they're talking about indoctrination, but they are actively doing it.
For sure.
When you spin a narrative and misinform an uneducated population,
this is one of the reasons why, because he breaks down a lot of stuff that like dispels a whole lot of rumors. But a lot of people say, I'm watching CNBC. A lot of people give their comments on like it's almost better to almost have like a divided government. You know what I mean? Because it seems like it would be like checks and balances, I guess. You probably would get a lot more done.
We want similar things, right?
It's the way you go about getting it done.
Ultimately, you want growth. You want people to make money. You want the economy to be strong, right? But we can't figure out how to do it because some people go, the rich, no more powerful. And people go, yeah, but after we make all that money, we do need to help the people over here, right? And so you need to do both.
Crazy sauce.
And let's do it in a way that's efficient and effective, right? Yeah. Republicans used to be.
It's really not a black thing. It's a poor thing.
Never a black.
You have to like.
It's a class.
People who don't question stuff.
Rich people want more money.
Scary.
And so for rich people to make more money, they go, we need to keep exploiting the poor. But we're going to make you think that we care about you, white man and black man. We only care about the green man.
Right.
That is it. And so we're going to keep y'all fighting while we keep robbing and stealing.
And all I'm trying to do on the podcast is teach the green game.
Yeah, but a part of the green game is also...
You got to know the play.
Economics like he does.
Right. You got to know what you got to know.
You can't be so emotionally
Wake up.
led. You can't be so emotionally led.
You cannot. And that's where I'm saying, when I talk about black people specifically, majority of us, we are 100% emotionally led.
That's people.
It's 100% emotionally led.
Tell the folks,
you've been in church today.
Immigrants are coming. People are rallying up against the immigrant. They're coming to take your jobs. They're eating the cats and dogs.
Well,
people was like, what?
Well, some of that is true.
Sir, go sit down. That's not true.
We're going to talk about it. Let's go. Cuban going to talk about it later.
That's not true. Ain't nobody eating no cats and dogs.
I said some of that is true. I didn't say which part.
You know what?
Yelling at the TV the entire game. I'm like, let's go.
He was imagining it was Hillary, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyways.
But good guy, right?
Yeah, he's a good guy. See? He's a really good guy.
Everybody loves Bill.
Bill's a beast. Yeah, and he's smart as fuck, too, right?
Yeah.
When you talk to him about any topic.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. And great communicator. I've noticed like a lot of times he communicates through story. You know, like it's effortless. Like, well, what do you think about the environment? One time in Arkansas, and all of a sudden you're kind of caught up in this thing that at the end of the story kind of proves his point about how we should handle the environment.
There. Yeah. And, you know, for better or worse, I mean, even Kamala doesn't do a good job of that.
Yeah,
she needs a wind up to get into her stories. Trump just, talks whatever, right? He has his go-to sayings, I was the biggest, the best, this is the best ever, whatever. He just always goes, and that's kind of his protected place.
Yeah.
So he goes into his catchphrases, and that's where he just builds off of.
Do you want a catchphrase? Be honest. Do you want one from him?
From him?
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't know, but would it be like a flattering thing that you got a catchphrase from Trump?
He's fucked with me. But no, what did he say? He did say like, oh my God, when we did this MMA thing, and I couldn't find it. Someone had sent it to me and I couldn't find it. We did this MMA thing back in 2007 where I had a TV network, HDNet, and we put on MMA fights. And he did something with the Russians, this guy named Fedor. And
Emelianenko?
Emelianenko, who at the time was like, badass, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and I did vodka shots with the dude, man. He could put it away. And then Josh, not Lambert, what the fuck was Barrett? But in any event, so the fight, for a lot of reasons, didn't ever happen. But he said, I'm doing this with Mark Cuban because everything he touches turns to gold. And so he gave it to me. And I said nice things about him because there was why not, right?
Yeah.
But shit changes over time.
So as you got to know him, you felt he was...
I don't have a problem with him as a person. Like you were just talking about Bill Clinton, telling a story, get to the point, and you knew what the point was.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that happen with Donald Trump?
When he starts a story, he gets the end of it.
Where you understand, he said that was nuanced. That really, he had some in-depth understanding.
No, but like, there are some people that are funny when they're not trying to be funny. And he is one of them.
And that's exactly what we want for president, right?
No. Here's the thing. You're assuming that we make the best decisions when it comes to electing people, right? And I think we elect people emotionally. And I know it's absurd to be like, this guy's funny.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
But it was absurd that we saw Bill Clinton play saxophone shitty on Arsenio Hall, and we were like, this guy's cool, right? Like, that's also an absurd thing. But it worked, you know? And so I think most Americans really kind of know nothing about the laws that are being passed. They're worried about, obviously, their communities, and they want to vote for someone who makes them feel like their, concerns are going to be considered.
Or it's just a fuck you.
Dude.
Yeah.
I think the majority of people might vote as a fuck you to the other party.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if you just sit right here and you go, I'm a Democrat, half of the country goes, that guy's fucking on it. And the other half goes, fuck them.
You. Yeah, you're out.
And which is interesting because I imagine it's kind of vulnerable as a politician when you want to speak the truth, but you know that people don't really like you. They like you as a representative of the party. You're almost like an actor who plays a popular character on a show. They don't really like
I had someone say that to me yesterday. Look, he's an idiot, but I'm a Republican.
Wait, meaning
Trump.
Trump is an idiot, but
I'm a Republican.
So I gotta vote for the guy.
I'm voting for him.
And to your earlier point, I think there were people in 2016 that was like, I don't care about him, but I love how much Democrats hate him.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it is.
Why is that not?
Because you're getting something more than just, people are just looking at Harris and Trump. You're not looking at the whole package that they come with.
That's why that's silly.
That's
why that's to say,
their policies probably align with what they're doing.
No. That's the complete opposite. Because if you really knew the policy, you would then really annex them and say, it's really no reason for me to keep them. It's really no reason for you to keep them. Does the policy based on what? What policy do they have that can help you as Joe Blow, who lives in Western Virginia, in a rural area? What policy does he have?
Regardless, he's gonna make people feel that income is coming in their pocket and not going away.
That's why that's silly. That's very silly.
If you need money, does that sound silly?
No, it's silly for you to keep thinking the same way Democrats kind of
It sounds like a not kind of.
No. The same way the Democrats
always.
No, but we do get something. We
always
get a lot of it.
Always.
Right? But the same way the Democrats
always
massage and use their talking points with black, middle class, and poor. They do the same. The Republicans do the same thing.
That's what I'm saying.
However,
oh my God,
on the Democratic side, they was able to what? What did
they do?
What? The student loan debt. That's not a win. Don't roll your eyes like that's not a win. That's a win.
What else?
What you going to combat?
What else?
Student loan debt that people they campaign for and got.
I got you.
Okay. That helps Republicans and Democrats. Those who didn't even vote got students a good portion.
Well, they owe America student loan debt.
Don't try to don't gaslight me, buddy.
What else?
Okay, let's talk about something else.
What else?
Insulin lower.
What about insulin?
For seniors and people on Medicaid and
right,
Medicare.
But that's dumb.
That's not dumb.
It is, because Americans are lazy. We would rather have a party to reduce the price. If anything, you should raise the price of insulin so you can stop eating burgers.
Well, that doesn't work because
it don't work because people don't have self-control.
Okay, so
you need a controlled government.
What can you try?
That's why Republicans are less government and more independence.
Please make this make sense.
It's not. I'm saying it's not making sense. It's not.
I know it's not making sense to you in your brain. However, we're talking about the middle class with inflation, the lower end middle class who talk about money in their pocket, right?
How has it increased from the 60s till now? What has people gotten over time that put them in a
about right
better
now? I don't know what happened in the 70s and the 80s. Okay, I don't know what happened in the 70s and the 80s.
Since the time,
so I can't say the 60s. All I know is I got the right to vote. And I got my civil rights. And it was affirmative action. Now we can fast forward until
even affirmative action. Who does that really affect?
Overwhelmingly, it affected white women. That's who benefited from affirmative action, but we did, as Black Americans, get
no.
We wouldn't have Obama if it wasn't for a process. Like, no, he would
probably wouldn't. Anyway,
absolutely, because they wasn't letting us in.
Not affirmative, not black, but it's not black Americans. The most people who get that stuff be black immigrant, like you're right. Jamaican, Haitian,
aren't they
African.
Black? Aren't they still black?
No, we talking two different things.
They not black. They're not us.
I'm not saying that they're not black,
sir.
But the affirmative action to say, "Hey, we're helping black people,"
it does help.
But it does not. If you giving people who just came off the boat into the schools, and you got black Americans who was born in America, descendants of slaves, and you still ain't getting nothing. Talk to me about how much that makes sense.
What proof? What immigrants? What did Jamaicans get? Somebody help. What did the Jamaicans get during the 60s, 70s, and 80s with affirmative actions that you're saying that? What did the Jamaicans and the Haitians get? And whatever they got,
sounds like another
whatever
episode.
They got, it was probably owed to them because we probably wasn't Haiti.
It owed to them.
And exploited them. They probably said, what did the Jamaicans get?
This conversation.
Look at this one up here. She said nada. What did help me?
What you talking about?
Help me.
Research that you have to.
You tell me because
I'm telling you.
What did they get?
Oh my God! All the people who benefit from affirmative actions, they get into Ivy League schools,
and that's no black Americans. It's only Jamaicans. It's only immigrants.
The majority of the people who benefit from it.
Where's the statistics for that? You can't throw that out there. Yes, Google it right now. Let's pull it up.
Let's keep on with the clip.
Oh, now you want to keep on.
I'm gonna find it.
We're gonna keep on because there's no black Americans who benefited from affirmative action.
No. See, now
so
you playing on words. I'm not saying there's no black Americans. First of all, let me get this out. It's not that it's no.
In the 80s for them to get funds from the U.S. for assistance. The Jamaicans and the
we're talking immigrants of Caribbean. I'm not.
That's what you're doing. That is the white supremacy talking point.
No, it's not. It's the truth.
Because you're focusing on the immigrants. It's enough money in this country to give the immigrants, the Chinese, the black, and the white. Instead of focusing on what the immigrants are getting, right? Right? Because you're like, the immigrants are getting the money. We got to stop giving money to the immigrants.
That sounds crazy.
So
it's the law of preservation.
So let's
self-preservation.
So if they didn't give it to the immigrants, you think they're going to give it to the black folks? No, that's kicking the can down.
What I'm saying is they should give it to the black folks before they give it to the immigrants. We were here already.
Sir.
We built this country.
Sir.
And got nothing.
Sir.
Think about it. You're all inclusive.
No, I'm
That's
not.
Why everybody's a Democrat.
Listen,
oh my God, all the people, we should give everybody everything. Bring them all in.
Memento.
Take the money from the rich.
Absolutely.
Let's give the programs out. Keep them on welfare. Take the fathers out the home.
Give me 1 second.
Social Security, the whole 9 yards.
We got all the conspiracies.
The whole 9. It ain't no conspiracy. These are facts.
All the conspiracy holes. Let me say this.
We're gonna have to move on.
No, we not. You're not gonna throw that out there. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
You look up affirmative action programs.
Sir.
It's not that black Americans don't benefit.
Okay,
but the people who benefit the most out of the black Americans are immigrant people who come from you're talking about all the Caribbeans, it's not like a born and raised. You ain't got Ray going to Harvard.
Okay, and so what?
Now it's so what?
Because
get out of
here. No. Listen, because I'm gonna go with your made up stats because I don't have no paper in front of me and I'm not gonna argue over it, right? So I'm gonna go with whatever made up story you saw. Let's say the immigrants. Let's say the immigrants.
Get them fair. Yeah, get them.
Let's say the immigrants, black immigrants, benefited more from affirmative action. Well, good. Okay, then why didn't we benefit? Because now you're standing selfish, right? Oh, so if they did not give the immigrants anything, all of a sudden we're going to get that overflow? Hell no, because we would have got it before immigration. We would have got it with our 30 acres in the mill that we didn't get, the mule. So let's stop pretending like, we're giving it to the immigrants is now going to cast off and go to black Americans. No, it's not. It's not. Let's say we take out all the immigrants since we got a problem with immigrants. Let's put all the immigrants on the boat. All the extra money. Now they can give it to the black Americans. That's not going to happen, sir. So as you keep using white supremacy talking points, as you keep using the indoctrination that's given to you, Because keep saying that, oh yeah, that's the immigrants. That's that same talk the Republicans use, that otherism, to say if they weren't here, it would be us. That's what they do with white folks to us. The black people are taking jobs. The immigrants are taking the jobs. No, they're giving us the one cookie to split while they got 5. That's the game that they're playing. And you're falling right into it, using it, saying the immigrants. Well, again, sir, we're a country of immigrants. We all came from somewhere. But let's say for whatever reason, let's take away everybody who wasn't born here. Do you really think America is going to then give it to us? Because if that's the case, then give us reparations. Okay, then all the black people, we'll have no more immigrants. We done kicked out the Mexicans, the Chinese, let's kick out all the immigrants who aren't born here. Oh, we got so much money now to give the black people. Because that was the problem. That's why we couldn't give it to y'all, because of the immigrants. Help me make that make sense. Make that make sense.
You done?
I'm done.
You sure?
I'm done.
You sure?
I'm done. So what?
All right. So
first, all the immigrant talk.
First thing first was, I never said that
now
they would.
Never said. Now he gonna walk it back. Walk it back.
I stood quiet now.
Okay, you're right. I'm gonna drink.
I stood quiet. I was very quiet. I never said that because they giving it to the immigrants.
That was the narrative, and that's what you insinuating. Don't change it.
It was never the narrative. I never said.
You said.
I never.
Do we have a rewind? Can we play it back? You said.
I never said
affirmative action.
Can I get let me get this out, please. I never said because of affirmative action and them giving it to immigrants that they will all of a sudden give it to black people. What I am paying attention to is the fact that Black Americans always get the short end of the stick.
We will always.
No, listen.
Okay. When did we ever get the front end of the stick?
Exactly.
When did we ever get the long end
but
of the
that's
stick?
Exactly my point, because we
and
don't.
And the immigrants don't have nothing to do with it.
Listen,
immigration, white supremacy has everything to do why we all get the short end of the stick.
All right, I'll be done with it. If I can get my
Go
point
ahead.
across.
I'm sorry. I'll take it back.
Let's move on. Clip.
Like, you'd spoken about this before. They had felt so like maligned for years.
Yeah, like, you know,
they felt made fun of and teased. They're like, finally, somebody is punching
giving
back.
It back to them. Fuck them.
And I get that. I get that for sure. For sure, right? But you know, and I can see how you picked Donald Trump to be that. But oh my God, we're talking about the presidency.
Yeah. So, giving you an opportunity to speak on some stuff you mentioned, what would you say to a Trump supporter who's like, the country was better off under Trump than it was under Biden? Those 4 years with Biden, everything got worse. 4 years Trump had it. Things stayed the same or got better, even if he inherited something good from Obama.
It's not the truth, but I understand why they say that.
I'm going you to dispel these things.
I mean, I can tell you, no wars. There was a war in Yemen where hundreds of thousands of people died, or at least 100,000 plus people died, and he had a chance to say, no, we're going to get out. He said, yes, we're going to keep on selling weapons to Saudi Arabia. So when he says no wars, that's bullshit. You know, when he says he's pro-military, there were 200 soldiers that got bombed to shit, and I forget if it was Iraq or Syria, and a bunch of them had traumatic brain injuries. He came out and said there were headaches. You know, when Puerto Rico got hit with a hurricane, he held back.
That was funny with the toilet paper.
No. It was funny when he finally got down there. But still, he held back money.
Aid. Okay.
He withheld aid. When a hurricane was sweeping through the southeast, he redrew a fucking map to make it look like it was going to go through Alabama. You know, and inflation. So there was a point in time, because I was just reading about this, in 2020, right as the pandemic was starting. And because there was...
He's suggesting is radical.
Is people, majority of people feel how Trump says the stuff that he says, they're just afraid to say it. And because he said it sounds demonizing, but because you feel that way, you won't come out and admit it that way. For Black people in America, it's not about, when we talk about the affirmative action, it's not about what it is about like you made the point, well, when we was going to get the front end of the stick. It's actually, that's the point. The point is we are not benefiting in no way, but we take the time to produce podcasts, to continue to go along to get along with the Democratic Party, the whole, everything that we do. And we never stop to figure out how we can then start to help ourselves to benefit. Because the one thing that we can say that's true in America, whether it's harder for us to get, I'd rather fight that fight, harder for us to get capital, to grow businesses, to expand employment to our people, than to be fighting the fight over something that's crazy nonsense. And every time they throw something at you, you really got to look at the numbers. I can't find it right now, but I'm gonna do the research for another episode. You really have to do the numbers as to who exactly benefit from these programs. It's not discrediting, no disrespect to any African, Jamaican, Caribbean, none of y'all, right? They all black. We all black people for sure. You know, some Africans might feel different, but however, everybody black. But the black people in America benefit the least, and we be in all of the hype game the most. And it's crazy to me. It makes absolutely no sense. And we've been doing it since the beginning of time, probably, or at least time in America. And it doesn't work for us. All the stuff that the government is giving out, you go back to the
you go back to the 50s and 60s.
But you got to, because you pulling into today. When you think about the Welfare Act, oh my God, yeah, this is a good thing. The government is giving this, and this, but they pulled out the fathers of the home. It's not even a black thing.
You about to go to welfare and taking the father.
Right, but you have to look at what's happening today. All right, let me walk this line. When you start with welfare specifically, you take out fathers from the home. You edify the woman, period. No matter what race, color, creed. I don't care what it is. Think about it. Now, when you got the height of, think about this now. You got the height of George Floyd. Let's go back to, what was that, 2020?
So you went.
No, listen, you have to watch it now.
I like the
watch it now.
Jumps.
When you, because it's a lagging program. It's a lagging thing. All right, I got to go back. You go from welfare being that there's no men in the home, so it breaks down the family institution, to then you fast forward to the crime bill and they locking people up for all the crimes being committed. Then you go into now, all of a sudden, all of America is woke because of the George Floyd situation. So now there's extra height on DEI programs. Not saying that it started then, it's been out for a while, but it's extra height on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and who's benefiting the most. We did the studies already where there's more black women who are leading in businesses and in these high executive positions. Not that there's nothing wrong with that.
DEI, but not traditional and affirmative action.
Not right. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, because shout out to all my sisters that's winning. However, what's happening is you still don't have you don't have enough men who have established homes to be able to take care of their household. And because most men are, just like most American, are being lazy, don't want to do the work, don't want to do the things that you got to get done to get it done, it's a lagging effect. And so now when you look at programs that say, hey, we're going to support black businesses, when you go right now, you look on American Express, Goldman Sachs, all their programs specifically heightens the small businesses of women and black women. It is no program that's like, hey, we just gonna, I ain't gonna say it's none, but it's very few that's like, hey, we got an incentive of $5 million to give the black businesses, period. It's always an extra identifier, and the extra identifier is women over men. And so it plays into the gender, and now look at all the stuff that's affecting, and nobody questions anything. Look at all the stuff now. You look at what's hype now. Relationship podcast. Who's mostly on there? Women. What they talking about? There's no good men. Why is that? Now politics. Watch this now. Politics. You got a hype. You got a hype of
out of the conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy. This is the truth. That's why it's more young black men who are more leaning toward conservative and Republicans because they feel the money puts it in their pocket.
Fault that men were flagrant and lazy in getting education to compete with their counterparts.
They have a part to play. That's not me. I take full accountability, but most people don't.
Because the family structure, politics, and money, right? Okay, so if we're gonna do this and go down this road, starting with welfare, the same way he said, there's typically a problem, and the government has a plan or a program to help offset the problem. Right now, we're not gonna talk about the CIA and drugs in our community, but I do not feel that now. When we could talk about welfare, because that's across the board. That is black and white families. Okay, so if they disproportionately disenfranchise the black man, they did the same thing with the white man because they're on welfare too. Yes.
Some of them.
Oh, now it's not a thing. They're disproportionately more on welfare than black people.
Right, but that's not the argument here.
But typically it is, because there's always that we're the victim. The government is disproportionately disenfranchising our families. Well, they're doing the same thing to white families.
Right, but that don't make it no better.
It doesn't. But what I'm saying
is, we are supposed to swallow the pill more because the white man is being affected too.
It removes sometimes that talking point that the government is typically trying to always disenfranchise the black family.
It though.
It does, because that's what people say.
That's don't remove it because it's the family period.
The family dynamic.
I don't care who you put in there.
I do not think that was the plan.
Why you don't think that?
To disenfranchise men outside of the home.
Why you don't see that?
That's because even if there's a trap there, you have a choice to walk into the trap.
What you mean?
If somebody say no,
if somebody come to you and say, I'm gonna give you $5,000 a month,
it's not $5,000.
And you can't have. I don't care what the money is. If you can consistently get a check on the 1st or the 15th every single month, but the requirement is the man can't be in the home. You telling me?
So you gonna say, Negro, you better get out the home. I love you.
That's exactly what happened.
Oh, bye. See you later.
Oh my God. Now we really gotta get it. Don't worry about it. Next episode, we diving into the welfare
that sounds
state.
like some
I'm
red
gonna give
pill,
you the. It's not.
Right? It's
not.
Get the stats.
No, it ain't the study. I'm gonna show you the study. It's a study done.
I want several studies.
Well, I'm only showing you the one I see.
Listen, stats, depending on its narrative telling. Now, the stats can show you, and depending who reviews the study,
it's not about black or white. We talking about about welfare. Period. And the truth
what was the problem? What was welfare initially set out to do? Not purposely to disenfranchise families. Sometimes that is the effect of it. The same thing with the crime bill. The crime bill came to help get rid of the crime that was in the cities. Unfortunately,
let's not go
unfortunately,
it
can't stop and frisk, and it disproportionately help to mass incarcerate black people. But there was a problem with crime in our city, sir. No, there wasn't. I grew up in Philadelphia and traveled to. There was. Don't look at me disproportionately. I am not Casper the Ghost.
I cannot believe we watching this real time.
I can't believe it too. Then what?
This is the problem with most people in America.
Child, I guess so, because your perspective and you perceive it one way and I perceive it another. Right. I feel the same way. Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Hide your wife and your kids. Then I feel I'm in disbelief.
This is crazy. Let's continue on the clip.
They said, calm down. We can just talk. Refuse to take accountability. Yes. The government set the traps and y'all asses walked in them and go, y'all set a trap for me. How I get down here in this hole?
Yeah, but that sounds crazy.
No, it don't.
It does.
It's accountability.
No, you can't.
Nobody told you to leave your family. Nobody. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat, it was a home. He was running around from house to house to house and didn't take care of his children.
This ain't gonna work.
Guess what?
This ain't gonna work.
Said, we can help you, sister. And what's she gonna do?
This ain't gonna work if we can't have a civilized conversation.
It's civil. I'm just animated because
I'm telling you right now. You cannot. That's that stuff that's smoke and mirrors. You can't say take accountability and then support the people who don't even give you the option of accountability. That's everything almost the Republicans stand for. Less government, self-independence. That's accountability.
It is. But for some,
Democrats supports what? More government assistance, more government push.
The thing is, because you say assistance, nobody's saying to support your way of life. It's called assistance. Right?
But that's called help. People don't even get raises to still qualify for welfare. I don't know how you're not seeing this.
Whose fault is that? Is that the government's fault, or is that the backwards mindset of the person who wants to stay dependent on the government? That's the government.
You can't give me drugs,
sir. That has no accountability. I am not even going down this road. Keep playing this clip. You know how many drug dealers was on my corner if I walked into another neighborhood and I was like, they was pushing me the drugs. So, I took the drugs.
The problem with accountability is you can't make.
Nobody didn't tell us, man.
You cannot.
Because that's what they put in our. They put drugs and strip clubs and alcoholism. Master, we just did it because we ain't had no control. We had no brain, sir.
But that's exactly what happened.
No,
you cannot talk accountability off the way we feel about accountability to most Americans. That's why government's in place. You said it yourself. Rich people will just pull over the poor. That's why you got to have unions. That's what this is.
Absolutely.
So the majority of the people that speak for them, they don't have accountability.
Listen.
That's why people still go to church on Sunday.
Listen.
Monday still be sinning, broke, and still giving money away.
There's multiple
getting fed
things.
Jesus without getting the absolute thing that's going to change you and your condition. Nobody talks about it.
Great talking points. However, multiple things can be true at the same time. The government can give you assistance and at times for certain people be a handicap and a crutch that won't allow people for upward mobility. At the same time, there is 100% personal accountability that needs to happen. Now, could the government give you assistance? Because that's the partner. That's what government does. Now, as people take advantage of these things, that's what he's talking about, how these programs tend to snowball. There's so many, and it's hard to remove them. The assistance is always there to help. Us as people, right, take advantage. It becomes a crutch. We become dependent on it. Whose fault is that?
Government. That's why you still voting Democrat. That's why you still voting Democrat.
Now it's only one person.
You ain't gonna never bite the hand that feeds you. You ain't gonna never bite the hand that feeds you. They feed you for you. What they say? Don't feed the cat, or what is it gonna do? Come back. That's exactly what's happening.
Is it
Let's
both?
Keep on going.
Is it both of our faults or just one? Okay, no problem. Let's listen.
Yeah, let's go. There we go. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the tariffs.
How do we fix inflation? There's so much conversation about inflation.
We talked about something we talked about a couple weeks ago.
The tariffs.
Fuck you to the other party.
Yeah, for sure.
I can believe it.
No wars. That's bullshit. You know, and Saudi Arabia got into a price war on oil, and the price of gas just plummeted.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the people in the oil industry went to Donald Trump and said, MBS at Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Putin, for better or worse, get them together.
And let's make this.
And let's reduce production so the price of oil goes up. Yeah. Now, here's the bargain. Do you save the oil companies, or do you motherfucking save all the people who are suffering from the pandemic and want to pay less for gas?
Yeah.
And so and if you track it, the reduction in production of oil, they pulled back so much so that the price went up. And then over time, over the following 2 years, so that was from early 2020 to late 2022, they increased production. And when you increase production, the price of gas goes back down some. So when they were reducing production, the price of gas went like this. And that was the start of inflation. Because just like he says all the time, drill, because that'll reduce the prices of everything else. Yeah. Well, he literally caused the prices of everything else to start going up. So by the time he left,
the price of oil is expensive. The shipping is more expensive.
Everything is
it's
more
trickle down effect from oil.
Right. And so it went from, he made the choice. I pay my boys that run these oil companies, or I keep the price of oil and gas low. So our gas prices for everybody else.
Now, question about...
I can keep on going.
No.
This is why I'm asking you for specifics, because I'm listening to all these, we're doing research, I'm listening to all these things, and you just keep having great answers for everything. But then I start to go, is he right, or is he just really fucking good at debating? And that's why I'm asking you for specifics, because I think a lot of people might be like, yeah, he sounds right, but he's just so smart. I don't know if he's actually right.
With Trump?
You.
Oh, me?
When you're talking about anti-Trump this, anti-Trump that.
Oh, no, I'm just giving you, look, I'm not the expert in all this shit, and somebody can tell me I'm wrong, and that's fine. I'll learn from it. But you don't see Donald Trump admitting to anything. Nothing. When was the one time he ever said I'm wrong? When was the one time he said, okay, let me figure this out. Let me give you some details.
Maybe that's why I like him, because he's like my wife.
Bingo. There you go. Right?
Yeah.
Why are you throwing her under the bus? What are we talking about?
She loves me.
No, break down tariffs, because from his side, he says, I'm just hard on China. I'm hard on all the
dumbest shit ever.
Okay. All right.
So let's talk tariffs, right? There's two types of tariffs. There's strategic tariffs and there's across the board tariffs.
Right.
Strategic tariffs are you're Japan or you're China and you own part of the steel company in your country. China is an owner.
It's a nationalized company.
It's a nationalized company. Yeah. So they can say, we're going to undercut the price of steel made by U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we're going to ship it in at a really reduced price so that we could take business away from U.S. Steel. Their business shrinks. And now if the United States...
at a loss to the company that's in China, but because it's nationalized, it's at a loss to the government. They don't care. They take away our market share.
Bing, bing,
now
bing,
we're
bing,
fucked
bing,
up.
bing, bing,
you
bing.
put a tariff on them so that they don't attack. That's warfare.
Right.
There.
So it's that way. You put a tariff on them, then U.S. companies will be like, well, it's still more expensive to go to them. So
it's not affecting us.
It has to be strategic, because U.S. Steel, if we can't make steel in this country, if something happens with the military, then we're fucked. So it makes perfect sense. Those are the tariffs that Biden kept in place. Those types of strategic.
Because they protect us geopolitically. They also protect the businesses, but they don't allow another country to get some sort of advantage on us in an incredibly important marketplace for our protection.
Bingo.
Got it. Okay, now the other version.
The other are across-the-board tariffs, where Trump says, fuck you, China. I'm adding 10% or 20% or 60% tariffs. He never says which is which, right? He just says I'm adding tariffs. So Walmart imports 80% of their products. And so Walmart is buying from China, paying in dollars and saying, I'm paying $1 for that widget.
Sure.
And that dollar comes in and it's $1 right now and that's it. Walmart marks it up and sells the widget at Walmart. Tariffs, it comes in, it gets to the United States. When it comes across the border, there's a 10% tariffs. The Border Patrol says, there's a 10% tariff on it. Walmart, you have to pay 10% of that dollar. You have to pay me a dime for every one of these widgets that come in. Walmart has a choice. They can either eat that dime or they pass it on. Now imagine, then he goes to John Deere and he...
Right there. So basically, like the breakdown, that was a really, really good breakdown. So people who like, hey, what are tariffs, how they work, right? It's basically your, when you see them commercials from Kamala, like, hey, Trump want to impose the U.S. sales tax. Like, basically that's what he's talking about. The thing is, and the way Mark described it was very, that's the definition. So you can't like disagree because that's what it is.
Sure. So maybe didn't hear or fully understand is that the tariffs, there, like you said, there's a couple different types of tariffs, specific and generalized tariffs. So in certain areas, tariffs can be really strategic to help us with military things, to keep us in position in those countries that we need a positioning. And then, of course, when you talk about consumerism, some of those types of tariffs aren't really kind of beneficial because you end up the price to increase to bring in the products end up kind of flowing and going down to the consumer. So when he says, well, I'm going to put a tariff on all Chinese goods and services, well, most of us import a lot, right? Dollar Tree, Walmart, all of especially the really inexpensive stuff, right, is manufactured in those countries, and they're able to do that in third world countries because their cost of living is so low. So then the labor is going to be really inexpensive, which means that you could produce it at a really inexpensive rate, import it, and we could buy it for $1, $2, $3, right? But if you impose a tariff on it, like a tax, so anything that's brought in from outside the country, from China specifically, that's who he's targeting, right? We're going to add an extra tax on there. And so initially it seems like, oh, that's a really cool thing, because on the back end, it's like, oh, we're going to promote US made things, right? But what that does, it doesn't kind of work that way. The goods that comes in, Walmart will pay, those small businesses will pay, you will pay to bring in your goods, right? Okay, I need to pay, 20 cents for each pack of eyelashes that I'm gonna sell in my dollar and selling my hair store, whatever it is. It ends up trickling down. The business owner could eat the cost, but typically they're not, right? Because they're about profit, right? Or they may sometimes split the cost.
They should be about profit,
right? They may split the cost. They may say, okay, well, I'll absorb 50% of this and I'll increase
Ain't nobody
it,
doing that,
right?
If my price go up, your price going up.
Typically, typically that's what happens. But they may split it. I don't know. But
Walmart
whatever.
say we gotta pay another 10%. If we gotta pay 10% for every dollar, you best believe it's gonna be more than eggs. That's price is going up.
So that's typically what happens, right? So at the end of the day, the consumer ends up paying for the tariff. Yeah. And so when you say you're for the middle class or you want the middle class to grow, that's really kind of almost like forcing a type of inflation because those goods and services.
So from the breakdown, the argument is Trump is saying, hey, which is really not a bad ideology, but it's trying to figure out the best way to make it possible. Is saying, hey, we're relying too much of our resources on China and China specifically. We need to start to recreate, and that's part of the narrative of the Make America Great Again, recreate American-made items to produce American-made things. From a business perspective, though, we're like, you guys got all these labor laws. We got to pay people at this much. It costs me like 10% less on the dollar to get it made in China. I'm definitely going to outsource,
cost of living is
import.
Too high. You couldn't even make something that cheap for the cost of living here, which is why people are diverting and going to Mexico, right? Yeah. Because the cost of labor, the cost of living there is also inexpensive, is similar. But what I do think needs to happen is this is why we need more people like a Mark Cuban, people outside that's going to think about and innovate, talking about the future. Let's not take us back, but move us forward. What is America known for? We're out of the Industrial Revolution. We're not making anything here with our hands. But what is America kind of superior in, right? Do we know? It's usually thinking. It's usually like, no, for sure. Entertainment.
No, it's definitely
it's not thinking.
I'm trying to figure out what it is.
I mean,
I definitely don't think it's thinking.
We have a pretty good AI situation.
That's now.
We have pretty good, you can technology.
We can lean more
between
into
Apple technology. Like we're not hard. Like we do got some good brands here.
Yeah, I guess.
So let's promote the future to bring more jobs here that are higher paying jobs. Like we're not going to make nothing here. That's no more. I don't think we need to keep going back to say we're going to open up factories, plastic factories, to make shit in Walmart and Dollar Store. That is no longer a thing.
100%. So
military. So
100%.
Let's talk about us moving forward.
100%. That's what Cuban is saying.
Not moving back, because that is not a thing anymore.
100%. That's where Cuban is saying, like, hey, we need to incorporate more technology and AI, especially in government. Because remember, he mentioned, like, you got a lot of government workers that's just really doing nothing. But
for sure. No shade, no tea, mama. I love you, but I know
they don't be doing nothing.
Watching me now.
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't right. So so how can you incorporate that? But then it's still trying to sway the masses of the people, because that was part of the reason why you had that strike on the ports, because they was part of that argument was bringing in more AI robotics to help with the transitions of the ports. Mm-hmm. And of course they settled real fast, but
it's like a stay. They're not settled. It's like a
it's like a little stay. Well, yeah, like we'll give you something, right? Yeah. So get back to work real quick.
Right. Like, hurry up, wait till after the election. That's
so for sure. So you know what I mean? But that's part of the argument. Is like, hey, how can AI? But it's just like we had the interview with Adam Coffey last week on like, well, how can you let AI do all the small things while you focus on big tasks. But that requires work because now I have to become more valuable.
Right. So that's what you should promote instead of selling people a dream that manufacturing somehow is going to come back to this country. You should be preparing them for the future. And so, what they do is they weaponize fear, right? They use that. Oh, they're taking your jobs. They're taking this. They're taking that. Well, they've been took your jobs, right? Nobody makes anything here. That's been happening, right? Call centers, foreign labor by far has been outsourced for years, right? American Express, Target, Walmart have had call centers in China 10 years ago. So, I mean, let's talk about the future. When we talk about AI technology partner, hey, listen, well, I'm going to do strategic training. Make yourself more valuable. Don't scare the people and be like, yeah, we're going to bring the jobs back. They're not coming. And then you want to be mad at the current administration. There's no more oil. They're not making cars. Walmart, none of that stuff is here. Now, but you could also increase trade with Mexico. They do have it's a third world country. It's developing, it's growing. You could partner there and set up your manufacturing there.
Yeah, America just got weird history with Mexico.
No, for sure.
They don't like Mexican, but I'm gonna leave that alone. It's gonna require me to go into some.
They have to
the history of the people.
If you're not white and right, it's not it. It goes back to classism and white supremacy. I'm always gonna.
But it definitely does with Mexico for sure because of who their roots are. You know, out of any what's the right term? Out of any if I say you Spanish, that's
European.
No, well.
The Spaniards,
right?
They have internalized racism,
right? Because they, if you're not Afro Latina, you white, you just Spanish. But most people be like, "No, I'm Spanish," as if it's almost like saying I'm a Jew, but that's like it's a race. Or
they haven't. I mean, unfortunately, they haven't.
You either white or you black. You either have a dialect.
Racism,
right?
The same because unfortunately the white man colonized.
So Mexico is very much so different than like Cuba, Dominican Republic, because Mexico roots are they're black, so it's a thing. But anyway,
the white man made it a thing when he did his.
For sure, but I mean, I thought it was a very good interview with Mark Cuban as we kind of wrap this up. He broke down it's the first kind of real dialogue you've seen since the start of this presidency debates and going back and forth on what these policies actually mean. How does it affect you, right? If you do raise tariffs on people, and then to clear it up too, because Trump also kind of everybody's. Between him and Kamala's coming back and reshaping what they're saying to dial more in. So he's like, hey, if you produce a certain amount, I forget what the X amount is, it's then you'll feel increase on the tariffs, and that's to encourage more American-made stuff. But like you said, it's a battle between wage battle.
That's literally a falsity, a false narrative. There's nobody going to open up a manufacturing anything in the United States and pay what $23, $25.
But it speaks to what
something you're gonna sell for $2.
It speaks exactly to what you're saying. When Ford came out, and
American made was a thing. In the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. After that,
it was way before.
Nobody gave a damn because that's why Gap went out. Because Gap was like, it's American made. It's American made. That's what sold American. A lot of those brands, American Eagle, American made was the thing.
And that's true because if you go,
I don't care. I just want it now. It's cheap. I don't care if I got to wait 2 weeks for it. I'm not going.
100%.
I'm not going to the Abercrombie and the Gap. That's why all them companies went out of business.
100%. And Cuban kind of said the same thing. He was like, most people are looking for. He was like, they did a study. They got some American-made stuff, but people go for the cheaper. They don't really care.
It's not a thing anymore. That used to be a selling point with brands years ago because they will be like, you could put American-made, and you can also say, well, 10% of my proceeds are going towards this. It was attach American-made in a nonprofit, right? That could really help promote the brand. Consumers don't care.
For sure. So y'all, this is a wrap, man. This was a good episode. Definitely was a great interview. We're going to try to bring more. We're not going to try. We're going to bring more content like this. We're going to be doing more reactionary stuff to break down business and politics and how it applies to you, right? Even our little back and forth still helps you. as we move into more episodes that kind of breaks down this history, I feel it's going to be a need to kind of walk us to where we at in 2024. Okay. But we'll see y'all in the next episode. Don't forget to keep minding your biz, and we'll see you when we see you.
Comment, share, subscribe.
Hit that bell, y'all. Hit that bell. Hit that bell. Hit that bell. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.